Americans have been chasing the perfect whiskey for over 2 centuries, consuming millions of cases every year. But not all bottles are created equal. Some deliver smooth, complex satisfaction, while others serve up rough, forgettable swill that exists solely to help you forget you drank it. Here is the definitive 2026 ranking of 15 whiskey brands, from the ones you should pour down the drain to the ones genuinely worth your money. Number 15, Seagram's 7, the least offensive offense. Seagram's 7 emerged after Prohibition ended, positioned as an affordable whiskey for working families who wanted legal spirits without going broke. It became a dive bar staple through sheer availability rather than any real merit. The problem is immediately apparent in the glass. This tastes like brown sugar dissolved in grain alcohol, so faint and sweet it barely qualifies as whiskey. The finish disappears faster than your motivation on a Monday morning, leaving nothing but a vague memory of sweetness and the lingering question of why you bothered. Multiple reviewers describe it as mixer only, which is a devastating verdict for something claiming to be whiskey. Seagram's 7 proves that being inoffensive can itself be the most offensive quality of all. When your greatest achievement is not actively repelling people, you have set the bar underground. Number 14, Johnnie Walker Red Label, marketing over liquid. Red Label struts around with that iconic striding man logo, confidently walking toward mediocrity since the 1800s. It is the forgotten stepchild living permanently in Blue Label's shadow, proving that sharing a last name does not mean you inherited the talent. Aggressive marketing and global distribution made this the world's best-selling scotch, a victory of ubiquity over quality. The whiskey tastes like grain alcohol mixed with pepper and fleeting smoke, then doctored with artificial flavoring to simulate complexity. The promised smoke disappears faster than your enthusiasm, and the harsh finish burns without delivering any satisfying warmth. Red Label is responsible for convincing millions of people they hate scotch, when what they actually hate is this particular bottle. It represents everything wrong with corporate whiskey, prioritizing brand recognition over what is actually inside the glass. 13. Jim Beam White Label, 7 Generations of Coasting. Jim Beam carries 7 generations of Kentucky tradition, dating back to 1795, surviving Prohibition and corporate buyouts, while remaining America's best-selling bourbon. It positioned itself as a working-class bourbon, honest flavor, at honest prices for honest people wanting a drink after an honest day's work. The reality is, bourbon's so flat, it makes you question whether the Beam family lost their taste buds somewhere around Generation 4. Vanilla and oak notes arrive with the enthusiasm of a DMV employee on a Friday afternoon. The peanut shell aroma that some reviewers inexplicably praise suggests quality control issues rather than intentional flavor development. The experience resembles bourbon-flavored water that sat in a barrel just long enough to turn brown. 7 generations of expertise apparently cannot guarantee the 8th produces anything worth lingering over. Number 12, Evan Williams, the best of the worst. Evan Williams occupies a strange position, simultaneously better than it should be and worse than it could be. Heaven Hill's budget offering promises Kentucky straight bourbon at prices that will not require a second mortgage. Bartenders recommend it as the best bourbon under $15, which sounds like genuine praise until you realize they are grading on a near vertical curve. Caramel and oak notes are present, and there's a baking spice finish with enough warmth to confirm you are drinking real whiskey rather than flavored ethanol. The problem is that better than expected is not the same as actually good. Evan Williams succeeds by clearing an incredibly low bar. Being the best of the worst still means you are pretty bad. This is the tragedy of low expectations. When something exceeds terrible standards, we end up celebrating mediocrity as if it were excellence. Number 11, Jack Daniel's, famous for the wrong reasons. Jack Daniel's is not just whiskey. It is a cultural institution, selling American rebellion in a square bottle since 1875. The charcoal mellowing process creates flavors of banana bread, vanilla, and enough sweetness to concern your dentist. Jack and Coke became the drink that launched 1,000 college friendships, and to its credit, This whiskey holds up well in mixers. It is perfectly suited for backyard barbecues and casual gatherings where nobody is pretending to be a purist. But the syrupy sweetness becomes cloying for anyone developing actual taste, and the smooth finish is ultimately forgettable. It goes down easy and leaves no lasting impression. Jack Daniel's proves cultural significance does not guarantee liquid quality. Sometimes the most successful brands succeed despite their product rather than because of it. Bulleit struts around wearing craft credentials like a borrowed suit, complete with frontier imagery and stories about Augustus Bulleit's recipe from the 1830s. The brand positions itself as authentic craft bourbon, connecting modern drinkers to whiskey's rebellious past. The reality is that Bulleit is produced by corporate giants using industrial methods, then marketed with frontier mythology that would make Buffalo Bill blush. The high rye mash bill creates sharp spice that cuts through caramel sweetness, delivering bourbon with enough personality to stand out in cocktails. Dried orange peel and a dry finish make it useful for bartenders working with classic whiskey drinks. But bold does not equal good when the boldness comes from harsh edges rather than complex development. Bulleit tastes like bourbon, trying too hard, aggressive rather than sophisticated. This is everything cynical about modern whiskey marketing, industrial production, wrapped in craft mythology, charging a premium for the privilege of being deceived. Number 9. Crown Royal, smooth enough to forget. Crown Royal emerged in 1939 as a gift for King George VI's Canadian visit. The original blend was crafted to be smooth enough to charm the crown jewels off the Queen Mother. The brand built its reputation on a silky texture and an approachable flavor, and it became America's favorite imported spirit by mastering the art of being inoffensive while remaining just interesting enough to justify its price. Vanilla and brown sugar notes create a dessert-like sweetness that appeals to drinkers who expect whiskey to taste like liquid candy. A light oak influence gives just enough complexity to call it whiskey rather than flavored vodka. But the very smoothness that made Crown Royal famous also makes it forgettable. Whiskey's so polite it practically apologizes for existing. The finish vanishes almost instantly, leaving sweet memories and a vague impression of having consumed alcohol. Crown Royal proves that being smooth is not the same as being good. Sometimes a product succeeds simply by being the least offensive option in the room. Number 8. Glenfiddich 12. Great introduction, modest destination. Glenfiddich 12 has been introducing Americans to single malt Scotch since 1963, when the distillery decided the American market might appreciate whiskey that had not been blended into submission. It became single malt's training wheels, teaching generations that Scotch could be approachable without being insulting. Green apple and pear notes create fresh, clean flavors that do not intimidate newcomers who assume all Scotch tastes like liquid smoke and regret. Malt sweetness provides richness without overwhelming, while subtle oak adds just enough complexity to keep things interesting. The challenge is that a great introduction does not automatically make you a great single malt. Glenfiddich 12 succeeds as a gateway product, but training wheels are meant to be removed once you learn to ride. Being perfectly adequate is both its greatest strength and its fundamental limitation. Number 7. Knob Creek 9-Year Bourbon with Backbone. Knob Creek stomps in at 100 proof, wearing its small batch credentials like armor and refusing to play the smooth talking game that has turned too many bourbons into apologetic whiskey-flavored water. It first emerged from Jim Beam's premium lineup in 1992 when Booker Noe decided bourbon should actually taste like bourbon instead of catering to people who do not really like whiskey. The 9-year age statement delivers oak influence that is earned rather than faked, creating genuine depth that justifies the weight behind each sip. Caramel and toasted nut notes hit with enough authority to remind you that whiskey once meant something before focus groups got involved, while vanilla sweetness keeps things from tipping into aggression. The higher proof creates heat that warms rather than burns. The finish lingers with oak and spice that fades gradually rather than vanishing the moment it touches your tongue. Knob Creek proves that Jim Beam knows exactly how to make quality bourbon when it is not mass-producing bottom-shelf offerings. Number 6. Woodford Reserve Bourbon in a well-tailored tuxedo. Woodford Reserve carries itself like bourbon dressed for a formal occasion, polished, composed, and appropriate for moments that require actual effort. This small-batch bourbon positioned itself among premium spirits for discerning drinkers who want sophistication without pretension, and it backs that positioning with what is actually in the bottle. Caramel, orange peel, cocoa, and roasted oak notes create layers of flavor without becoming overwhelming. A silky mouthfeel and a long finish justify the premium pricing through genuine quality rather than marketing mythology. The consistency across batches builds real trust. Every bottle delivers the same satisfying experience. Woodford Reserve proves that premium positioning can be justified when it is backed by actual premium quality. Sometimes paying more genuinely gets you more, and sometimes that is exactly what the occasion calls for. Number 5. Four Roses, the industry's best-kept secret. Four Roses operates like the whiskey world's best-kept secret, quietly producing exceptional bourbon while other brands spend their budgets on marketing campaigns and celebrity endorsements. This distillery perfected the approach of letting the liquid do the talking, winning through quality rather than hype. The brand's commitment to working with 10 different recipes across 2 mash bills creates complexity that most distilleries achieve through accident rather than intention. Floral, rye, and honey notes reward careful tasting while remaining approachable for casual drinking. Toffee sweetness balances perfectly with slow-building warmth, creating bourbon that evolves in the glass rather than hitting you with everything simultaneously. The clean finish demonstrates proper distillation technique, eliminating harsh edges without sacrificing character. Four Roses proves that the best products often come from companies focused on craftsmanship rather than campaigns. Sometimes the quietest voices have the most important things to say. Number 4. Wild Turkey 101, Authenticity Without Apology. Wild Turkey 101 wears its proof like a badge of honor, refusing to apologize for being bold in an industry increasingly obsessed with smoothness over character. Master distiller Jimmy Russell created a bourbon that delivers exactly what it promises, full-flavored whiskey that does not hide behind marketing gimmicks or artificial smoothness. Cherry, cinnamon, and caramel notes create robust flavors that hold up to ice, mixers, or careful sipping. Oak influence provides structure without overwhelming the fruit and spice notes, while the heat reminds you that you are drinking actual whiskey rather than whiskey-flavored water. The finish carries enough warmth to remind you why bourbon was invented in the first place, to provide comfort, satisfaction, and the sense that life's challenges are at least temporarily manageable. Wild Turkey 101 proves that authenticity never goes out of style. The best products are often the ones that refuse to compromise their identity to chase whatever trend is currently popular. Number 3. Jameson Irish Whiskey, social whiskey done right. Jameson has been bringing people together since 1780, when John Jameson decided Irish whiskey should be smooth enough to drink and social enough to share. This triple distilled whiskey became America's most popular shot by understanding what people actually want from a drinking experience. Green apple and vanilla notes create clean, approachable flavors that do not intimidate newcomers, while providing enough character to satisfy experienced drinkers. The absence of aggressive smoke or harsh spice helps this whiskey bring people together, rather than divide them into camps of enthusiasts and skeptics. Triple distillation creates smoothness earned through technique rather than achieved through excessive dilution. This is whiskey that goes down easy because it is made properly, not because it has been watered into submission. Jameson proves that being widely popular does not require sacrificing quality. Sometimes the most successful products succeed because they understand their role in people's lives rather than trying to be something they are not. Number 2. Buffalo Trace, honest excellence at an honest price. Buffalo Trace represents everything right about American bourbon: quality that is accessible, complexity that is approachable, and pricing that does not require a trust fund to sustain. This bourbon emerged from one of Kentucky's most respected distilleries with quiet, honest excellence that makes other spirits seem unnecessarily pretentious by comparison. Brown sugar, orange peel, and caramel notes create balanced complexity that rewards careful tasting while remaining genuinely satisfying for casual drinking. Oak influence provides structure without overwhelming the fruit and vanilla notes, and the clean finish demonstrates proper distillation technique throughout. The creamy texture and long finish justify the growing reputation that has made this bourbon increasingly difficult to find at retail prices. Buffalo Trace built its following through word-of-mouth recommendations rather than advertising campaigns, and that is the most reliable endorsement in the business. Sometimes excellence is its own marketing strategy. Number 1, Maker's Mark, the standard. Everything else is chasing. Maker's Mark stands alone, like a red wax-sealed monument to doing things right. This wheated bourbon was built on an uncompromising commitment to quality, and it achieves what every other bourbon on this list is attempting in one way or another. It is complex enough to impress whiskey enthusiasts, smooth enough to convert skeptics, affordable enough to drink regularly, and distinctive enough that you would recognize it blind in a lineup. It does not win by being the oldest, the rarest, or the most expensive. It wins by being consistently excellent at a price point that never requires justification. The decision to use soft, red winter wheat instead of rye creates bourbon with round sweetness and approachable character that does not sacrifice complexity for the sake of smoothness. Caramel, vanilla, and baking spice notes unfold gradually rather than hitting you with everything at once, and the buttery finish lingers long enough to make you genuinely appreciate what you are drinking without overstaying its welcome. The hand-dipped red wax seal is not just a marketing gimmick, it represents an attention to detail that extends throughout the entire production process. This is bourbon made by people who actually care about bourbon rather than profit margins alone. Maker's Mark proves that when you commit to doing something exceptionally well and refuse to compromise that vision for market pressures, the market eventually finds its way to you. The bottom line: whiskey is a battlefield between marketing mythology and actual liquid quality. The brands at the bottom of this list built empires on hype, on heritage stories, and on the assumption that most consumers will never look closely enough to notice the difference. The brands at the top earned their reputations the only way that matters, by consistently putting something worth drinking in the bottle. Choose brands that earn your loyalty through excellence rather than demand it through advertising. Keep your standards high and your whiskey honest.